Sorry for the delay. So basically I'm a Bitnation Ambassador and I'm here to present you what our concept is and how we want to change the world. So yeah, our slogan is Governance 2.0. And why Governance 2.0? Basically we want to update the way we perceive governance and how society is governed. And so basically we are a platform for collaborative do-it-yourself governance, which is built on the Bitcoin blockchain and on other cryptocurrencies blockchains. But the main idea is that we can use the protocol of these cryptocurrencies to put a layer on top of it with information for example, certificates. And this way we can build a substitute or alternative to our current government services. Yeah, as you can see, we provide, or we intend to provide all kinds of services traditional governments provide right now, from law and insurance to it's going, yeah. So yeah, we provide, for example, law services, insurance, or security in the future. And right now we are focusing on law. For example, we started with the BitID, which is a world citizenship, for example, like a passport. But until now, of course, you can't use it as in traveling. But we aim to make it that popular that you can travel to other countries with the Bitnation BitID, which is your personal information on the blockchain. And we're basically the first virtual nation, so you can use our services independent from where you live. So we're challenging the paradigm that you have to live in a country to use its services. You can also get governance services from wherever you live, you know. And all of our services are voluntary. So, contrary to the governments where you're forced to use the services, you can actually choose to use our services because we're just a free market alternative. And we intend to end the geographical apartheid that is forced upon us. Like, you were born in one place, but you never had the choice to actually use the services or not. So we want to end this apartheid that you have to, that you're forced to use the services in this one country. And yeah, let's go on. So there's a global geographical oligopoly. When you want to move from one country to another, you only go from one monopolist to another, right? So it's like big nation-state oligopoly, and furthermore, in our existing countries, there's wars, there's slavery, there's taxes, and this is all forced upon us because we all have to comply in order to live in the society, right? So what we want to do is we want to offer the world an alternative. And the Bitcoin technology is helping us change something about this, because blockchain is basically a peer-to-peer cryptographically secured ledger that is visible for everyone in the whole world. And our information, the private information you put up, is accessible for everyone who has a computer. So yeah, like we give you the opportunity to opt out, and until now there's 2 billion Ellis in the world who are currently unbanked, and the system D is it's like a big market, a $10 trillion market, and they don't have the opportunity yet to use things like financing and like access to credits and stuff like that, because they don't have the land deeds and stuff like that that you can use to get the credit. And Okay. This is our CEO, Susan Tarkovsky-Tempelhoff, and we made this meme for her, and it's like saying, what we're doing is making nation-state governments entirely irrelevant. No government, whether democratic or autocratic, can survive without the consent of its subjects. In the same way Bitcoin has transferred the financial systems, Bitnation will irreversibly change the political system in the course of history. So as we have seen in the past with Bitcoin, lots of users can use the decentralized form of exchanging, even though it is not granted by the government. And we can see that there's a high demand for people who actually want to use alternatives to what the government supply right now. We are continuing with this. We try to go on this trend and piggyback on what Bitcoin has achieved in the past. So what Bitcoin has done to the financial system, we intend to do with the political system, to make it more decentralized and to give people opportunity to change. Alright. So we got this fixed now. I hope so. And we have a short video for you, which is basically a statement about Suzanne and her project. You have sound? Oh.
The last 10 years of her life, essentially analyzing the political systems and the way that they worked. And she's actually created this organization using blockchain technology called Bitnation.
Incredible, yeah.
And it literally, I don't know if you guys have heard of this project, but Bitnation, I was talking about this earlier, Suzanne Tempelhoff, who is, I respect her more than any, not even anarchist, like any person that I've met on earth. She's just this amazing woman, has one of the most incredible stories, who spent the last 10 years of her life essentially analyzing political systems and the way that they've worked. And she's actually created this organization using blockchain technology called Bitnation.
Incredible, yeah.
And it really empowers people to manufacture, to create their own nation state using her platform.
Yeah, so this was a short introduction of Suzanne Tarkovsky-Tempelhoff by Tory Lane Casserly, by the way, who is also the CEO of Cointelegraph. And these are our principles. We intend to be borderless because we transcend nation states. Bitnation does not care where in the world you are from, where you live, or what passport you hold. Everyone has the right to enjoy high-end competitive governance services. We are also intending to be decentralized. Bitnation is powered by the Bitcoin blockchain technology, a public ledger secured by cryptography, distributed amongst its users and the world to ensure peer-to-peer autonomy. And finally, we are also voluntary, like I said before. We are not forcing people to use our services, like governments, like nation states. And Bitnation is dedicated to the open source philosophy and provides a platform for users to develop their own governance functions or fork the code and create a brand new governance system. So you can basically use our services and start your own virtual nation if you like. And we aggregate services like governments do. We intend to provide law, insurance, social services, security, diplomacy, and the whole package. Because if you got bulk services, you can lower the costs and lower the prices. And yeah, like we already started with an ID system, the vote citizenship. We already had the first marriage. We already had land titles for landlords in Ghana, so you can actually see their coordinates on the blockchain and use this as a verification of your land for contracts. The question is just like with bitcoins, whether merchants are going to accept it or not, and we hope it's going to use the same popularity. And yeah, I chose this meme. Cody Wilson does not have anything to do with us, but I really like this quote. He said, increasingly, all political questions that we could fight about have been relegated to an administrative sphere. So I could spend my entire career becoming one member of some segment of the government, yelling as hard as I could for many years, making a career. Or I could write software that totally explodes the paradigm, right? So what he's seeing is that it does not make much sense if you really want to change the society to try to go from within the system. You need to invent something new that is disruptive and that makes the whole game totally different, you know. And yeah, our first product, or like let's say the first software that we are going to provide in the next few weeks actually, is the Bitnation Pangea platform, on which we will launch all of our services. It's free for everyone to download. And you can see the interface here, so we already have a really friendly looking front end. And it consists of a peer-to-peer desktop client, a browser version, and a mobile app version. And yeah, the essential components of Pangea are the ID and reputation system, the dispute resolution system, and the DApp and apps library. So the services we create are called DApps because they are decentralized applications. They are not centralized, not by one server, and they're peer-to-peer. That's why they're decentralized. And Bitnation is piggybacking on Bitcoin's adoption success through targeting areas with a high amount of remittance payments and countries using mobile money. Like for example, in Africa, we got many countries who are already using their phones for transactions and trying to use cashless services. So we could pick up on this trend and offer our services first of all to emerging markets and the countries where people don't have the basic governance systems at all, where we don't compete with them, like here in Europe. In Africa, like in Ghana, for example, people don't have land deeds. So we are the first ones to provide them to them. And the main idea, you see, Bitnation Pangea is to have one world where you can like choose all these services with. And yeah, this is what our DApp library will look like. Yeah, you will see all kinds, like it's the App Store from Apple, right? You can just download your DApp. Our DApps will charge a small fee, but nevertheless they will be usable all over the world. So no matter where you are, you can use the blockchain technology and our services, and basically be independent from your geographical location. And yeah, these are our first DApps that we already tried, like we had pilots. On the left you can see Janina Lewis. She was the first world citizen. She had we used the Chris Ellis world citizenship protocol, and you can see her proof of existence on the blockchain. Like when you look up this transaction, you will find the code and use this as a verification for instead of your passport. So you see where we try to outcompete government bureaucracy and passports this way. And our next pilot is the bit marriage. We had the first marriage on the blockchain. You could, instead of asking the government to accept your marriage, have your marriage accepted by the blockchain users all over the world. So this is a far more better mechanism than the authority of the state. Because just think of, for example, gay couples or anyone like trying to marriage who is forbidden by the government. They could simply use the blockchain instead. And yeah, of course, the government shouldn't intervene in any of these services because it's our own choice and we give people this opportunity. And like I said before, we had the pilot in Ghana, and we basically geotagged the coordinates of this parking slot. Basically, it was just a test, but as you can see, it worked, and we had these coordinates put on the blockchain transaction. So when you look up the certificate that we made out of this, you can actually find the information about these coordinates on the blockchain. And our next DApps that we are working on right now is Bitcorp and Bitnation Agora. Bitcorp is basically that you can register your own company on the blockchain. So you don't have to get the licensing and all the authority of the government to start your own company, but you can rather become distributed organization on the blockchain. So you can just have your company accepted through the blockchain network and avoid the whole licensing scheme that the current establishment has imposed to destroy small companies. Because as you might know, the big established companies try to outcompete their smaller competitors through lobbyism and regulation, stuff like that, and through Bitcorp you can avoid all of these things. And Bitnation Agora is what will be combined with Bitcorp. You can sell your equity as cryptoequity through the blockchain, and we enable everyone to basically get funding outside of the stock market, because usually you would go on the stock market to find people who want to buy your equity and stuff like that, and go to the big investors. But with us you can do it just like with crowdfunding, with the difference that you can get the reward, like dividends for your investment. So everyone can basically become a crypto investor in companies, and any small fruit vendor or bookshop or whatever can start getting funding through the Bitnation Agora platform. So you see Bitcorp and Bitnation Agora is already what we're working on, and our next step will be a dispute resolution system, which will replace the legal system that we have right now in the government system. Bitrate is working on that, but their code is open source, and we will try to use their code and improve it a bit to our standards, so everyone can use it as a part of our Bitnation platform. And what else? We got a third-party DApp, not from us, but from Johan Nygren. He made the basic income DApp. It's not like the basic income that you might have heard of before. It's like a voluntary system where everyone can choose to participate in or not. And yeah, like everyone has a certain right to an income, and, according to Johan Nygren. And yeah, we give everyone the chance to participate in his new system. And what else? I just had the idea we could also start making a crypto insurance. Like all the insurances we get from governments right now, like health insurance or pensions or whatever you can think of, they could also be provided through cryptocurrencies, and also by issuing the contracts on the blockchain. And yeah, these are the current things we're working on, but we can expand to any service the government is offering right now. So if you have any idea, you can just tell us, and we would work on a DApp for it. And we got the worldwide ambassador network. You see the small white spots. This is everywhere where we got an ambassador, and they are helping us implement these DApps that we are developing in their local geographical context. And they can also start developing their own DApps suited for their local context, and we will try to put these things that they develop on the platform so everyone in the world can use them. So you see, it's like a worldwide network that is mutually beneficial. And we got so you see, we got the biggest concentration in Europe and in the developed countries, but we aim to get more boots on the ground in like emerging markets and in third world countries like in Africa, Latin America, and Southeast Asia. where governance services are needed the most. So yeah, we want to be a global platform, and therefore we need networkers and Bitcoin entrepreneurs who are getting us forward in this regard, and especially implementing the do-it-yourself governance DApps. And we got two different types of ambassadors. Like the entrepreneurs are people who are already working on Bitcoin companies. Networkers are more like those guys who are raising awareness, helping us finding new ambassadors, and for example going to meetups, making interviews, writing blog posts. And like every effort you do to help us spread the word will be rewarded in our crypto equity. We got our own crypto equity, XBNX, and yeah, in like 2 years or something, you will get rewarded in bitcoins and for the investment you made right now. So like right now, the dollar, the price is like 5 cents per XBNX, and yeah, like every contribution will not only just do social good, but also help you, if you are an ambassador, to start your own DApp business on top of it. So you can make your own brand out of it and fork the code and use it for your own company. And yeah, we help you to get instant feedback from all over the world, because our platform is global. Yes, so we have this really awesome meme. You know this quote by Buckminster Fuller: "You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes an existing model obsolete." So instead of putting all our efforts into like going into politics, into fighting or starting a revolution or anything, we just create a new system that is convenient enough for all the people to just use, and just the current system will become useless because it's, our services are much cheaper. They're usable on the global scale. You don't have to doubt the ethical things like with governments, because all we do is voluntary. Nobody is forced to pay for it, like with taxes. And it's much faster than the bureaucracy we have nowadays, because just think of how hard it is to get a passport, or to get like whatever kind of license for your company or whatever. You can avoid all of these things by just using our platform. And yeah, that's already it. If you want to look us up, this is our main page, bitnation.co, our blog, bitnationblog.com. And on Facebook you'll find us under Bitnation Pangaea. And yeah, if you have any questions or doubts, just tell me and we can have a discussion about it.
Yeah, because you know, when I think about the government, I think about a monopoly on violence.
Yeah.
Sort of like you have to pay a tax or else you go to prison. And that's how governments work, I always have worked. But here you sort of have a voluntary government, so it's like the opposite. And it's very difficult for me to understand.
Yeah, basically the word governance it's also very confusing for many people. Governance does not have to be forceful. It can also be something you choose, like from provider. Like anything you would buy, like you buy your shoes, you can also buy, for example, arbitration. You can pay an arbitrator to help you with when you're fighting with someone to get a peaceful solution. You can also pay someone to protect you instead of having the police. You know, all of these things can be provided on a voluntary basis, and the outcome will be the result of what people actually want. They can decide every day. Whenever you make a payment, you choose what you like the best. You know, it's much better than the democracy we have nowadays, where you can just choose every 4 years, and after your election they can do whatever they like, basically. You just have to wait another 4 years for some other liar who's just gonna sell out again, you know. And with this, you can just choose whether you want it at all or not. And even if you choose them, you have competing companies for these services. So they are always trying to give you the best result as a customer.
Yeah, I suppose it works like, for example, you have a service and it goes to a DApp, and DApp has the possibility to use escrows in some way. So if there is a dispute, then there's a third party that's already defined in the DApp who can resolve it. Is that so?
Like, we don't have a third party for every idea, but you can choose your own arbitrator. Like with the Bitrated, what they're working on, what we will use as well, you can choose your preferred code of law and then find the best arbitrator for you and the guy you're fighting with. So you will, like, if you agree upon this arbitrator, the outcome will be like what you have, like from a guy you already agreed upon. So if you refuse what he said, what he's going to say, you can be ostracized by the market. So this is how we enforce the law, because when you're not doing as the arbitrator you have agreed to use, when you're not going to do what he's saying, you will simply be ostracized from the market. Like nobody wants to do business with you anymore because you just say whatever you like and then you're not gonna keep your word, you know.
So it's sort of, instead of using force, you use more like reputation.
Yeah,
Reputation,
exactly. Reputation is the keyword. Like if you have a bad reputation because you always break your contract, because you never do as you're saying, nobody will want to do business with you. You will have to go back to the government nation-state model again.
How many citizens you have?
You mean like on the Bit ID as world citizens? Right now it's just one, it's Janina, but we're working on the DApp, and when we're selling it, we will see how many people really want to use it. And
why don't you want to use it?
When it's available, like it was just a test, you know. It's not the product, but once it's there, I think I will use it as well.
So she's the one who married, eh?
What?
Who married whom? You got the big marriage also, yes?
The bit marriage, right?
Yes. So you need at least two.
Yeah, of course. So we were talking about the citizenship. But of course.
Right, I was just thinking about the same. Don't you need to have two bit IDs to get married, or it's just the...
you don't necessarily have to use Bit ID to do marriage. It's independent. Like you don't have to use all DApps to use one DApp. It's like you can just choose to use one of them and don't use any of the others.
So then you identify the two parties by their existing state-issued ID.
Of course, that would be beneficial. Yeah, but yeah, I mean you can also do the marriage without it. So like in this case, we were just doing the pilot, the test with the couple who was not registered on the blockchain before. But I mean, if the market says it's better like that, then people will probably also want to have the citizenship before they do the marriage. But it's just dependent on what the merchants and the customers want.
What do you think about the fact that Bitcoin is a programmable language, and basically, in maybe 10 years from now, anybody could do exactly that, just do bit marriage on the blockchain?
Yeah.
You need a third party such as yourself to register.
Like
or you actually act as sort of an arbitrator.
Wait, so we are not the arbitrator ourselves.
Or a priest.
What?
Like a priest.
Priest?
Right, for a marriage.
Yeah, I mean, in this case, Jeffrey Tucker was like the priest, but you can say you can do your bit marriage without a priest or with a priest, and the merchants who are gonna decide upon whether they accept the marriage or not, they will say if they are okay with it or not. So I think it's just a matter of trial and error, you know. The market will say whether it's good or not. And like as well as with the property in Ghana, we had notaries who were checking if the space is actually the property of the guy who was registering it on the blockchain. So we don't have it like just do as you like. Of course, there should be, in order to have a good reputation, someone who is actually checking the paperwork, so it's like not wrong.
That involves a lot of effort, so cost.
I mean, the notaries, It depends on, I mean, for example, right now notaries are working in the whole government ecosystem, so like everyone is trying to make everything as long as possible, you know, because their reward is not correlating to how much they actually do. But on a free market system, they will get more reward for being actually faster. So my guess is that market solutions will be much faster and more efficient.
How technical is working with BitID? How I start to think about how we avoid from fake persons in blockchain.
Imposters.
Yeah, who could, because in case of governments, there's a third-party institution who check your ID somehow in institutional way. In blockchain, it's until now it's anonymous. So you create some sort of profile and put a picture of Barack Obama, for example, and so how this trust building is or identity checking is supposed to work.
Like I said, at the end of the whole process, you will get a document, like we also had it for Bitland, where you see the actual transaction code. When you look up the transaction, you can find the code and the necessary timestamp, like here. That is the proof that this ID exists. But to be honest, I'm not the technological expert for how exactly timestamping works. Like, it's done on the blockchain, but how exactly the process is working, I'm not an expert at that.
Who is holding all the data? Who is the big brother holding all this data? Who is it?
The blockchain.
Yes.
The blockchain is peer-to-peer. It's owned by everyone. There's no central institution who's
Yes,
owned.
but how can I say, verify this land is yours, for instance, and nobody goes and monopolize this information? Who is going to check?
I mean, everyone can check. Everyone can look at the blockchain. Your question was whether someone would just make up land or something?
Yes.
Or, like I said, there will be notaries, and if it comes out that it's wrong, the service provider will get a bad reputation and people are not going to use it anymore because they're not trustworthy.
So for registering yourself for blockchain, you also need a notary in this case?
For the BitID, for the citizenship, I'm not sure how the process was in that case. I guess so. Maybe there's going to be a form you will have to fill in, and I'm not sure about the procedure. But we will have probably different companies with different procedures, and the ones that are the most trustworthy are going to outcompete the other ones. Our idea is just to start it up, you know, to just show that it's possible to do it, and then the ones who do it the best will proceed.
Question. I think everything is connected to the government, with the state, in fact.
What?
Everything is connected with the state. For example, we're speaking about wedding or land. I don't know, maybe I don't understand perfectly, but I think there is no value out of the country. And also in the world there is country everywhere. If a state is not agreed to accept, you know, what you do, then it's no value. For example, let's take an example for the wedding. You married with you take this example of a gay wedding. Marriage. In France is accepted, okay, so you have, in the front of the law, you can be married, etc. If I come in Latvia, if I give my document, they don't care. So it means that here I can have a wedding, but who will recognize it? Because I need to be. And I take another example about the land. It's very interesting. Imagine I buy a land, and I decide I get here. I go to notary, they put in the avatar, and after I put on the blockchain. But who cares?
It depends.
If I will sell tomorrow to someone, and after I say, oh, I hold it, I can put everything I want on the blockchain, but I need a link. I need a link with the state, I need a link with them. Consider it's available. But I would just what I can do, I can prove something on the blockchain. For example, if I develop, make an algorithm, I develop it, or I patent something, I can maybe put on a blockchain. I can maybe prove after it can be a proof because the law in any kind of state, different but it was the same. I can prove that okay, I was the first to do that. I was the first to develop this algorithm because I put on a blockchain at that date. So maybe the kind of proof. But about whaling, about land, if nobody, no state accept to link on the blockchain or to accept that we have to put on the blockchain and we have to check, then I don't see.
Well, the thing is, it's just like with Bitcoin. You can outlaw it, but it depends upon whether merchants are accepting it or not, whether the people are accepting it or not. Like in the beginning, you could also say Bitcoin, like who cares, nobody is going to use it. So right now we got so and so many millions of transactions right now, and you can outlaw Bitcoin, but people are still going to use it. So the same is for Bitland, for the Marys, or for any of these services.
It depends on the state. This is depend on the state. Bitcoin, when I have a Bitcoin on my wallet, it don't depend on the state. There is another work, and it's based on the blockchain, so I can transfer everything because the check it exists on the blockchain. That's all. I never check it exists at my bank because I don't have a blockchain, Bitcoin at my bank. But here, it's really something that do the state according to law. About the land, for example, I did say one place. So if no state say, we don't care, you can put everything on the blockchain if you don't care, what is the value? For the Bitcoin, it's different.
No, look, it's, if enough people change to our system, what the government says will become irrelevant. If, it's just like right now you will say it does not care, that they don't care and will not matter, but it just depends on like if the critical mass is using it or not. And we can also, for example, that's a problem that I had. For example, we could do it on the black market, which is of course bad, but like for example, you could use anonymity, but on the other side we have that everything is public and you want to have everything validated. So there's like it's exclusive of each other, but I think there will also be a technological development to make it possible to prove your existence and at the same time become anonymous. So in case we have the technology, we can all start using these services, no matter what laws the country has. You know? So it just depends on whether people are using it or not. And it's just like a matter of being aware that you have an alternative. So right now we're just telling everyone you have this alternative, you might be afraid of using it, but once there's the next crisis, or once there's, like for example in the third world countries where these services aren't granted at all, people will start using them because it will make their lives much more easier. They can get access to the financial markets through this because else they could not have land deeds, for example. They could not verify their company or whatever. They were in the gray market. And it's just like with Bitcoin a matter of market adoption.
I'm sorry, but it looks very much pretty like a second life, you know. I mean, the problem is that, you know, they will allow you to do things unless you don't go against their interest. Because, you know, you can buy a big land in Ghana, but try to buy 1 meter square on the Red Square in Moscow. And go there and try to do this is mine.
No, of course.
I think somebody will come.
No, of course it depends on if it's your rightful land claim. I mean, if it's owned by somebody else already, you can't do it.
It's okay. In principle, it's nice. Yes, it's nice. But
no, what you're saying,
we have to cope with people that you know will not understand this.
Yeah, but what you're saying is basically just the threat of aggression, right? It's just that people with guns will come and will just
They can just come and unplug your socket now, you know, and say.
Yeah, but what does it say? What
Yes.
does it say about them? It just shows that might makes right. It shows that they have nothing ethical about them. And the more people realize this, the more people will join us.
But I think we all realize that all over the world.
No, if people would really realize this, they would be using us already.
And you see, you have perfect rights to do this, and it's perfectly valid points, a very libertarian point to do this. But it comes in conjunction with arbitrary it cannot work without an arbitrator. And,
Yeah, like I said before, there will be competing arbitrators. And the ones with the best reputation will be the ones with the highest authority, but not in the sense of authority we have today. Like you can start your own law business and try to compete with the current dominating law in the market, in that kind of law market.
yeah, absolutely. You need a lot of critical mass though to achieve that sort of point of inflection.
Sure, the Bitcoin is still fighting for its critical mass and for mass adoption still this early stage because there's not a lot of people using that. Money transfer as a function. But I'm just curious about this bit ID still that I like this expression proof of existence because if you don't have a country issued ID, so you're not existing, something like that now in perception. So when you're born, so state is issuing you some sort of ID, but the state is a third party who is checking the parents, I don't know, and the fact that this child is born, gets a code or on it, something like that, and the state and the system is responsible for that. And the system is quite a couple of 1,000 years old, something like that. And now I'm just curious how it should work in this decentralized world. So when the new child is born, so what is going to be happening?
For example, we already had the birth certificate, the first birth certificate on the blockchain. I forgot to mention this. It's actually Suzanne's nephew. We basically issued the time and the weight and stuff like that, and the timestamping document, and it's also added to a blockchain transaction. And
out of merits that one, yes?
what?
Out of merits because there is no merits at the moment, yes? So it was born this child out of marriage. Yes?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. That's good.
But, okay, but this child, what he's getting unique, a bit blockchain address, private key for that address.
I guess so, yeah.
Right. But who could check that this child is real? that's the question.
Actually, I thought we do. You know this touch when you
Take picture.
not picture, but how it's called fingerprint.
It's just a question, what is an ID in your system? For some it's a fingerprint, for some others it's more sophisticated, like the network of your blood vessels on your hand, or your DNA, or...
For state, actually, it's a combination of figures. Every country got to there's some sort of social security number, personal code, or any other, but there's a link of figures which is representing human in a trusted world, let's say, who's created by the existing systems. So
what kind of information do you record?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know what the Ellis protocol was using. There's articles on that, and I wasn't part of Bitnation at the time this was made, so I don't know about the details that were used, but
it's Bitcoin protocol, that's for sure, and it's a transaction that you can check on the blockchain.
Yeah, but the exact verification that was used is the proof of existence. I don't know about that, but it should be on our GitHub entry. We have all of our DApps and all the codes and everything that is required for it, and the instructions on GitHub. And yeah, you can look it up, and I don't know myself, sorry.
You mentioned this assets, XBNX or something.
Yeah.
Is it traded?
Yeah, you can trade the cryptoequity on the counterparty market, but we are going to change to Horizon soon, which are also using like this crypto asset system. So every company can basically start their own equity through the DApp we will create, Bitnation Agora, and yeah, we want to combine it with the Bitcorp, like I said before, that you register your company on the blockchain and then issue your equity on the blockchain as well.
So any more questions?
Actually, very much idea about this good idea. I believe it could be the future because there's a lot of things when actually you can make with signature and so on and so on and so on.
Big signature.
Do you allow for documents to be signed?
What?
For documents to be signed?
You mean like with signature or what?
Well, on the blockchain.
I don't get the question.
There's a company called DeadSign.
Ah,
They
okay.
do something similar. Basically, making a record of a transaction, and that transaction represents a signed document.
I'm not sure about that. We might be using their code or something. I don't know.
What about your code? Is that open source?
Yeah, of course. Like I said before, everything we do is open source. It's all on our GitHub, and yeah, you can use the code and start your own competitions.
Does your CEO program herself?
No, I don't think so. She has a different background, but she just, like me, identified this potential for the society and for how to make this world a better place in general, you know. And yeah, she got to know many developers, and I think she also has a big technological knowledge already. And yeah, what can I say? We got some dedicated developers who are, of course, experts on that field and working on front end and back end. And we are trying to cooperate with all the Bitcoin companies out there and other cryptocurrencies and crypto assets ventures that have anything to do with this whole concept. And we also encourage everyone to also do open source, so everyone can use each other's codes and improve on them.
Okay, I just wonder, because I'm involved with this counterpart project, like I said, volunteer is also open source, and you said that you will change your horizon. I just wonder why.
Because Counterparty, we had some issues with transactions, like we often had to do them manually. Like there was a problem that like it didn't work out automatically, and we just became partners with Horizon. Maybe you've seen it. We became partners with Horizon and BlockNet, who will enable us to do reputation systems on the blockchain, to basically give the blockchain a human face. And the Horizon, yeah, that's what Horizon is doing, and BlockNet is basically interconnecting the different blockchains between different cryptocurrencies. Like, you know, the Bitcoin has the problem that the blockchain is becoming too bloated, is becoming too big and too slow in the future because too many transactions that are verified. And we can solve these problems with the things that BlockNet is developing.
So is that another blockchain?
They are connecting the different blockchains, and they found a way to make the size smaller, but I don't know the technical implications of it.
Okay, cool. Have you thought about Ethereum?
Yeah, of course. We will probably stay. We are already in contact with them, and I imagine once they go public, we'll probably also make some form of, I don't know. I'm not saying anything official, but we could probably do a partnership with them. But yeah, I'm no one to pronounce that. Any more questions? Or critique, or, you know?
No, I can just add that it makes sense to say about counterparty because, first of all, Bitcoin is quite expensive per transaction as compared to other blockchains. Second is it's been under quite a lot of development, you know, like this past year. It's quite new still. So every now and then there's like this new mandatory upgrade. So if you have your own server, You also have to constantly like upgrade it, so it's not very convenient at the moment. Hopefully, like in a half year, 1 year, it will be more like mature and stable. But right now, it's like beta. So if you run a different project on top of it, it's quite annoying. So I understand it.
Have you had any contact with all the false pilot movement? Like for example, a German pilot party.
Pirate Party.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Susanna's actually good friends with Rick Falkwinger, the founder of the Pirate Party, of all pirate parties, and we try to keep in touch with local pirate party movements. We can improve on that field, of course, and I think they also have a big gap and should also keep up with cryptocurrencies and all of that stuff. And you know, it's kind of complicated. Like they are trying to do it the political way. They try to become elected and change the system from within, and we're like going from outside the system. But probably it would be good if we cooperate. Yeah.
Yeah, still thinking how this trust could work on blockchain about this bit ID and identification of people, because yeah, it's a big question which is still unsolved in technical means, because you could you can prove your existence on the blockchain, but you can prove that it's you. This combination of figures and private and public key. This is a question. So this is some time ago actually start looking at some peer trust or something like that, connections like your profile on LinkedIn or Facebook. Probably that those 500 people who knows me probably could make a trust that this is really my profile. It is me behind this. And it's actually starting to compete with government issued ID, like Facebook passport, let's say, or login. So I don't know. But still, I get gap how to move this some network identities to the blockchain. Still, just thinking.
Yeah, of course, there's still a lot of work to do. But anyways, what I'm just trying to underline is any kind of process the government is doing right now for verification, they could also be provided by private people. It's just you just need to use the same mechanisms and just put them on the blockchain. That's basically it. And
but this case is still a third party, like those lawyers or those.
Yeah, we just need to find enough lawyers and advocates and all the people who are willing to cooperate with us and who also want to be, for example, paid in Bitcoin or in other cryptocurrencies. And they can also get a big another market, you know, because you can also try to do mediation through, I don't know, online, and you get a global market through us, you know. Right now you're just in your local market because you're bound to your code of law in your country, but as an arbitrator on our platform you have a global market.
But do you know how Estonian this e-residency is working?
Yeah, as far as I know, you can, for example, register your company in Estonia without actually being in Estonia. But that's the only thing you can actually do with it. You cannot travel to Estonia with it. It's not like a passport or anything. It's just so people will register their companies there and make benefits of the taxes and help. Probably the Estonian government will use this to get more taxes.
Yeah.
What about your system? Where is the guarantee that you won't suddenly say you have this critical mass without taxes?
Well, if we would do that, people could just use our code and start their own thing without taxes, right?
Generally, no. The system's value is not in the code, but in the user mass signing network.
Yeah, but as soon as we would do something like that, people wouldn't trust us anymore because we broke our principles if we do that. because we said we're voluntary. We're not forcing people to pay money. We're offering a service like any private supplier, a private service, and you can choose whether you want to buy this and that, and we're not like forcing the money out of you with a gun.
So, do you have more information about how it works? This corporation, Bitcorp. How practically this corporation could be created? Or
Yeah. Like we already had a demo for that. Like one of our ambassadors, Pedro Rivera, has created a demo, but we will make a bigger announcement for that when we publish it on the platform. Like first of all, we will publish the platform in the next weeks, and for every DApp that we launch, we will give the practical manuals and everything on how to do that. And as you can see, it's as easy as just typing in the name and like what type of owner, what type of company, what organization you can add your own organization. And the thing is, of course, you can do a lot of bullshit in there, but yeah, it's true. But you will lose your reputation once you start to negotiate with that kind of identity, with that kind of corporate identity. So you see what I mean?
How the self-identification is working in this case? Who could create this company? How system know that this particular creator or owner is me, for example?
Yeah, like with the bit ID, I don't have the information on the exact procedure, but I guess we will come up with something authentic, because else, yeah, there's no proof that it's not made up.
How do you, I understand that in the system you provide some kind of law and some kind of rights to its users. So how do you plan and enforce and guarantee these rights against uninterested third party? Because without that, rights are provided by system is kind of meaningless.
Wait, do you mean enforcement inside of our like law market, or with what? With the nation state?
Against any third party, actually.
Okay. Like I said before, we're using ostracizing the users who are breaking the contracts. Like the market will not do business with them anymore.
That would be inside the system. However, large company can simply not go inside the system and live by their own law, which would be, for example, contradictory to the rights of those in the system.
Wait, you mean when you're doing a contract with that kind of DApp with someone who's not using the system?
Yes.
You actually, everyone who's using it is already in the system. Like, it doesn't make sense. If you're using the DApp, you're part of the market. You know what I mean? It's when you're trying to do a contract through our DApps with someone who's like working for the current government, it does not make much sense, because they're of course not going to keep their word, because they obey their own law. You know, they obey the code of law from the nation state. Did that answer your question?
Probably no.
Okay, maybe you can try to rephrase the question.
Well, it's really hard to place it already that you would understand. But let's. That's mostly about this security part. If somebody, for example, sells a land property from one user to another, however, if some third party simply comes and says it's the land, it would be no point to buy.
Yeah, you mean if someone like goes there with their guns and says, "This is ours now," like this. I mean, of course, we are also aiming to provide security. That was also part of our package, which will come later on, which is independent from the blockchain, of course. Okay, you could also do the contracts on the blockchain, but the service itself, security, is, for example, peer-to-peer protection. We could only offer that and hope that, I don't know, we're not aiming to cooperate with the military or anything, but we just hope that the kind of security we provide is enough to secure the land.
But here becomes a conflict against your basic principle. Participation in the system is voluntary, because this third party, let's say they just declare we are like a new Islam country, we live by Sharia law, and those non-Muslims in our law, they have no any property rights. So by your law and by your culture, this land is kind of ours. Actually, all land is kind of ours. So if you try to enforce your agreement against them, it means that you are enforcing your law system on them, which is contradictory to the principles that any interaction with the system is voluntary.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to say thank you. I just really have to go.
Thanks a lot for your participation.
Goodbye.
Like I said, or no, I didn't say it before, but in this case, it is just self-defense, you know? Of course, it would be not voluntary anymore, but like you said, the new Islamic State or whatever, they are trespassing. They are the ones breaking a voluntary agreement. So any force used against them is just self-defense.
Saying that anyone who doesn't accept the law system is said is kind of a trespassing, and any action against them is self-defense, would not be exactly correct, because they would say exactly the same.
So instead, you would rather have the nation state telling you what to do and saying like, yeah, this is ours and you can't do anything because we have the military. Like, I mean, we will try to. I mean, every civilized person would try to find a peaceful solution to this than fighting a war. Right? Like, you would rather have an arbitrator solve this much more cost efficiently than waging war over this land, you know? And it will be like much smaller scale fight than when governments fight each other, you know? When there's a war, you have thousands of people dying and like all of these extreme causalities and everything. And in this case, everyone has just their own property. And when there's people fighting over these small places, it's not as severe as when there's like governments fighting each other.
Yeah, but we still think that nations or governments is related to the land. And by the way, as we know, we're digital, some digital era now, in nation could be created virtually, not related to the land. So I see this nice button, do-it-yourself nation, and I just start thinking about consequences about how it really could work, because as we see, there's a lot of monetary systems existing in the world, like currencies, like fiat currencies, like the dollar and euro, something like that, covered by the governments and backed by the governments. And there's a lot of cryptocurrencies growing out, like waste of an amount, some cryptocurrencies in strange names and other stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody could create this cryptocurrency, but the problem is that it's still this currency should have some kind of critical mass for users in order to be valuable of some sort. And I just start thinking about nations. So now technically it's possible that every of us could create our nation in the virtual world. So in the not a virtual gaming, some sort of I don't know, environment, but on blockchain, let's say. And I just think about consequences. So, yeah. So you could create country.
Maybe you can create a new country, but with something which is not completely the base of a real nation, the nation is a territory. For example, we take this example of land. There is a nation, and there is a territory, and there is a land. And the nation decide, for example, that you are the owner. If, for example, there is invasion of another country, you are not the owner anymore. They decide, for example, that all the land will be owned by the state. For example, if a new economic system, and etc., etc. So you cannot put, there is something that you can put, that's why the Bitcoin is something to pay a currency that is not absolutely, I say linking, maybe it's not a good expression, but it's not linking with something that we have really, like the land is the land. You can put in a blockchain, you can say it's another nation. No, we say, okay, here we have a nation, we have the land, we protect, we decide to have rules, so we protect you, you can buy it, we protect you, we record it according to the system, etc., etc. Of course, you can put it everywhere on the blockchain of everything. They do the same, for example, when someone woman gives birth to a child, so they have a process, etc., etc. But of course, if you want to create a new nation, let's speak about I create a nation just with a name and a currency. Yes, you can create it. Of course, it's not attached directly. You understand? It's not. We don't take some euro. We don't take some dollar. We don't say we don't. This area. But then we have to see what we can do. To be the wedding is a good example because why to marry? I don't even need a blockchain. I'll go to see my girlfriend, say, okay, we married? Yes, okay, we are married. We don't need to sign, we agree. What is changed? We agree together, that's all. If you want after to have some advantages for economy, for everything, then you depend of state where you are. That's why I take this example. In France, you can be two persons from the same sex. If you are in another country, you can be, you cannot, or depend on the age, at what age you can marry, etc., etc. So this is a bit difficult because it brings an advantages only in your world. So you can marry. For land, I'm not sure because it's connected to the ground, but for a wedding you can marry, but you are married on the blockchain on your nation. And then maybe you can have an advantages.
Yeah.
You can get a discount, you can get, I don't know, you can get something. But only in this world. It is interesting. It's interesting, but you cannot. I don't think everything can be connected. You can put on.
I think we didn't do it as something required. I think it was just to show that it's possible, because it's very catchy to say that we have a couple married on the blockchain. Like it gives the blockchain a human face, It's not just numbers. It's
but the idea, it's very interesting. My name is Frederic on international law, but on you, I don't want. My name will be Richard, and I have the right. I have the right. I don't say my age, or maybe I can change a little bit, but I will be such person, and I will do maybe my fingerprint. I give you maybe some other thing to confirm, or my DNA to confirm that it's me, but it will be me on the nation. Why to make a link? It's not connected. In this case.
And it's so easy, you see connected because whoever you has iPhone has a click
For
fingerprint.
example, anything you can make, and then I will have another life
So,
in your nation.
so Apple could create their own
Yes,
first Apple nation.
nation.
Apple user nation.
And
So just every country in the world.
etc.
But that's the idea, that you can just choose your governance service provider just with your app on your smartphone.
And maybe I will have a better reputation in this world than I don't know in another one. Some people, for example, they had a problem. There was a blacklist in a bank, for example. Maybe in your nation, they will get a credit, for example, because they did something quite good. They have a good business, and they can have, of course, means of payment and everything.
Yeah, of course, there could be service providers who let you start from new, but it depends on the providers, of course. They could also just ask you to show your government's history or something, but there could also be competitors who say, no, we give you the chance to start a new life.
But of course, if you are, for example, existing at the bank, some people in Italy was, in a personal, bankrupt, there is this law, and if they decide to move to another country, maybe they can open an account. Just not a bank account, and they can have another life. Some people, sometimes they have some problem in the country, they can move. If there is no link between, but this is the same. If you have something is not good or something is not what you like, you can be here and you can have another economic activity, let's say, maybe another life.
Yeah, and you know the basic motivation of this, that here you don't need to change your geographical location. You don't need to go to another country. You can do it all from where you are right now, just using your smartphone, basically.
We take an example of this gay wedding, which is interesting. In France, they decided to do that, to bring protection in case of one person in couple died. For example, they can give the money because we have a tax for heritage in France. And when you don't have a family link, you pay more than 65% of tax for this. So they decide to do it like this first. But imagine, you accept such wedding in your nation. I decide to make, for example, a wedding, okay? In Latvia, I'm not recognized. I don't put my money in Latvia. I put on Bitcoin on some account, and when something happens, you will get it. For example, you decide to do like this. So it means that you adapt exactly what you want.
Quite interesting. Yeah, there's still think there's a gap between your real identity and blockchain. So how?
Why you need to link? The question is why you need to link. Why you cannot have a new identity?
Because you could create 100 identities.
Yeah,
No. For example, I set up. You set up, for example, something unique like DNA or fingerprint or something, but it's you. And you decide to have your new identity. After the way how we can confirm that it's unique is another thing. But you don't need to have the same identity like in the international world. The passport is recognized everywhere in the world, so it's okay that if you go to America, we take a Latvian passport, we say okay, we are sure that it's you. But here you can create another identity, but you create
By the way, are there any services offering fingerprint scanning for blockchain account creating, something like that?
What, like you mean?
You create by your fingerprints, let's say, your blockchain identity.
But basically, the fingerprint can also be like just translated into a code, right?
Right.
Yeah, we
sure.
can put that code on the blockchain.
It's exactly what I'm talking about. It's actually an existing thing. So you just combine.
You should link mobile phone with blockchain somehow.
That's it, and you have a universal signature actually.
But I mean,
universal ID.
But I mean, it's secure way that there's there's no middleman between your fingerprint and blockchain or fraud or something like that. It's unique, it's yours, and it's created by the blockchain, recognized by the blockchain. You could, could be recognized by this blockchain nation by your fingerprints, and it doesn't matter how your name is. You're probably
you need a set of Uber fingerprints, which is extremely easy, and here this new person.
For your eyes, for everything, but you can
But easily create.
Oh. Rubber, some kind of fingerprints.
It was a demonstration. Like at the moment when it started, Germany was first country to adopt biometric ID by adding fingerprints to the database. And in the first days, a journalist easily showed how he faked that he created a fake fingerprint of Chancellor Angela Merkel, and at the demonstration, and did this identification in a store with it, and the time it took about an hour or so, and he published the video to the internet showing how actually easy it is to fake such.
Probably the technology start more and more to be complicated. Probably of course, there's a lot of other biometrical things like this pins and other stuff. So.
Yeah, but the more complicated the biometric ID, the more unstable it is because people change with time.
Sure, more complicated to use and adopt.
Okay.
The obvious problem is that if your fingerprint becomes like a digital code, anyone can then, after they get it, they can copy it, so it's worthless. Right? So the only thing that has value is something where you can sign. Like Bitcoin addresses, you can sign.